So over the past 9 years, I've collected a total of 26 credit cards here, with some of these being favorites of mine that I use all the time, some being canceled or product changed, and then others being cards that almost never get touched as they kind of just sit around in my sock drawer. So in this video, we're gonna rank all the credit cards that I've ever had in a tier list based on my own experiences with them and what kind of value each card's been able to give me personally. And I'm gonna run through these cards in the exact order that I got them as well, starting here with my first ever credit card, which was a Wells Fargo student card that I opened in July of 2016. And also, thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video, but more on them later. Now, I don't even think this exact Wells Fargo student card is around anymore, but back in the day, this was a super basic card that only got 1% back on everything with no sign-up bonus, and I think they gave me like a credit limit of maybe $500 or so. As more of a starter credit card, it definitely did its job of helping me to build credit from nothing by just paying for some groceries and maybe some textbooks with it back when I was in college. But other than that, it didn't really do that much for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it down in the D tier at the bottom of these rankings. Now, after I graduated from college, Wells Fargo eventually upgraded me to this card, which is kind of a better one here called the Active Cash that I still have to this day. So the account attached to this card is now my oldest account on my credit report, which is really the main reason why I still have the Active Cash. This is a really solid catch-all card, earning 2% cash back on all purchases, along with a sign-up bonus of $200 after spending $500 in the first 3 months. But unfortunately, because I only did a product change over to this card, that meant I was not eligible to get a sign-up bonus. Also, because I don't have any other Wells Fargo credit cards with access to transfer partners, I really just don't end up using the Active Cash that much at all anymore, besides maybe once or twice per year just to keep it active. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one down into the D tier as well. Now again, the rankings here in this video are gonna be based on my own subjective value that I get from these cards, and just because I put a credit card down into the D tier, that doesn't really mean that it's a bad credit card, but maybe it's just something that hasn't done much for me personally. So with that said, next here, let's go ahead and move on to a credit card that I am gonna put a little bit higher in these rankings, up in the A tier, and that's gonna be the OG Chase Freedom card that I opened up in December of 2018. The Freedom card was actually discontinued to new applications a few years ago when Chase rolled out the Freedom Flex. Those two credit cards are used pretty much the exact same way within my own strategy as rotating 5X category cards. I actually have a few of these OG Freedom and Freedom Flex cards that I'll get to and explain throughout this video, but since the rotated categories here with these cards usually include things like grocery stores, Amazon, restaurants, and more, I've personally been able to get a ton of value earning 5X in all those different ways. So yeah, this is still a card that I definitely use a lot to this day, and I think it deserves a spot up in the A tier. Now after that, back in November of 2019, I got my first ever premium travel credit card, which was this $95 per year Chase Sapphire Preferred Next. And I remember I was so hyped when I got this card because it was metal and it felt super cool to use. Obviously, none of that metal credit card stuff matters, but this is usually that gateway credit card that kind of gets people into the credit card game. And that was definitely the case with me as well, because another thing that I really loved about the CSP was that it was the center of my Chase trifecta. Because of that, I was able to book my first ever free hotel stay using my Chase points and the 25% points boost feature on the Sapphire Preferred, which was super cool at the time. And then eventually I learned about how to use the really great transfer partners here on this card as well, like Hyatt, to get even more value. However, over the 4 years that I had the Sapphire Preferred, I wasn't really a fan of its spending multipliers, and eventually I actually decided to downgrade this card to get rid of it, which I'll explain later on as well. So to me, this is going to be a solid B tier credit card in my experience with it, because it's got good value, but it wasn't as good as maybe some of the other cards I use more in my day-to-day life. Now, when I eventually downgraded my CSP after having it for over 4 years, what I did was I downgraded it to a second OG Chase Freedom card here, which obviously is going to go into the A tier as well, just like the other one I have. And the main reason I did that is because I wanted to keep the 4+ years of credit history for my Sapphire Preferred by just keeping that same account open. Having a second Freedom card also gave me a little bit more room to earn 5X back on rotating quarterly categories, because these cards are going to be limited to earning 5X back on only the first $1,500 of spending per quarter. So by having 2 of these now, that effectively gives me up to $3,000 of 5X spending per quarter. Now after that, the next card I got back in January of 2020 was the Chase Freedom Unlimited as my catch-all card to complete the Chase trifecta. And this card's always been good because it earns 1.5X back in the all other category. I also got a 20,000 point sign-up bonus with this, which is typically pretty standard unless they're running some limited time offers, which they do from time to time. But yeah, the Freedom Unlimited has been one of my go-to catch-all cards for a while now, because I've always liked that I could just take whatever Chase points I earn from this card, and then I can go ahead and combine those points with the Sapphire card to eventually transfer over to Hyatt. I do wish the Freedom Unlimited earned 2X versus only 1.5X on everything though. So for me, I like this card a lot, but it's going to go into the B tier because I definitely earn more Chase points on my rotating 5X multiplier cards. Now, after the Freedom Unlimited, I took a break for most of 2020 from getting any new credit cards. But then in November of 2020, I decided to pick it back up with the famous Amex Gold card. The Amex Gold is something that's pretty much constantly been in my wallet ever since I really got it, because the 4X on restaurants and 4X on groceries multipliers are just too good. So every month when I'm analyzing my spending inside of my Rocket Money account and I see all my food related transactions, that's almost always going on my Amex Gold card unless restaurants or groceries are one of the categories on my rotating 5X cards. Now, the other month, I also saw that I got charged the $325 annual fee on my Gold card, which is sort of one of those things that I'm not really a fan of with Amex when they increased the annual fee last year. And honestly, I almost forgot about that fee coming in, so I really like having apps like Rocket Money to kind of get a good visual on charges like that, as well as charges for other subscriptions that I sometimes forget about. In my opinion, Rocket Money is the app you need to save more and manage your money better, whether that's going and canceling any of those unwanted subscriptions, creating a custom budget, or like I said, tracking your spending with a whole bunch of different credit cards like I do. One thing I really love about using Rocket Money is that with over 20 plus credit cards in my collection, I could just have everything linked in one single place here within their platform, which saves me a ton of time as I'm analyzing my spending. So before Rocket Money, as I was doing my budgeting, I would have to log into a ton of different accounts, one after the other, which was super annoying and super time consuming. With Rocket Money, I've also been able to identify and then cancel subscriptions right within their app with just a couple of taps. So if you're like me and you hate wasting money on that stuff that you forgot you were paying for, then this could be an awesome feature to check out. So take control of your finances today and go to rocketmoney.com/Daniel Braun to get started for free. That's rocketmoney.com/Daniel Braun to get started for free, or go ahead and check out the link down below in the description. And thank you again to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video. Now, as for the Amex Gold, even though the numbers still work out for me to keep this card and use it a lot, because American Express recently decided to increase the annual fee, and they also added all these extra credits and extra work for me to help offset that fee, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one into the A tier just for me personally. Now, almost right after the Gold card, I decided to go ahead and get another American Express card with the Amex Platinum in February of 2021 next. And with this card, I basically just really wanted it for the airport lounge access, which also included a free guest so that I could bring my wife Jackie with me. I also got a 100,000 point offer plus 10x on gas stations and grocery stores for 6 months, which was awesome at the time. But since I got the Platinum, they have made a ton of changes to it, like increasing the annual fee up to $695 per year. Plus, they actually removed the free guest lounge access due to overcrowding, which I understand, but still, that was the main reason why I decided to get this card in the first place, so that was kind of frustrating. Now, I still have this card to this day because the credits on it still give me enough value to offset that $695 fee, but honestly, now with Capital One and Chase in the airport lounge game, including the awesome new Chase Lounge in my home airport here in Philadelphia, I think the Amex Platinum honestly is kind of losing value to me lately, so it's gonna go down into the C tier. All right, moving on to the next card on this list here, we've got my first ever business credit card with the Chase Ink Business Cash that I got in August of 2021. And I got this card after I started making just a little bit of money for my YouTube channel because I wanted to go out and start maybe treating my channel like a business and investing in some things like a camera and other stuff like that. So this Ink Business Cash was the card that I chose back then because mostly I just wanted the 75,000 point offer it had at that time. Then after that, I didn't really have that much use for it, honestly, because the multipliers here just didn't really line up that well for me with categories like 5X on office supply stores. This card has pretty much just been a sock drawer card for me that I'll try to remember to use every now and then if I can, but it's got no annual fee, so there's not really any incentive for me to close it either, so it's just gonna go down into the C tier for me personally. And the only reason it's not down in the D tier is because 75,000 Chase points was a pretty strong offer that gave me a lot of upfront value. Now after that, shocker, but I went with another Chase credit card because I was kind of pushing really hard to get the most out of that Chase 524 rule while I could. So next I got the Chase Freedom Flex in October of 2021. The Freedom Flex was a card that I didn't really need because obviously I already had pretty much the same exact ability to earn that 5X back in rotating categories with the OG Chase Freedom card, but I was able to get a limited time offer of 20,000 points plus 5X on groceries for the first $12,000 in the first year. So in total, that was up to potentially 80,000 Chase points, which was a crazy good deal. To me though, because I use the Freedom Flex the exact same way as all those other OG Freedom cards, this one is just gonna go right up into the A tier as well for this video. After that, I still had some room under the 524 rule, and so I went ahead and picked up the Chase Ink Unlimited card in June of 2022. And this one's very similar to the Ink Cash for its 75,000 point offer, but unlike the Ink Cash, I actually still use the Unlimited a lot. That's because it's pretty much the business version of the Freedom Unlimited, since it earns 1.5x Chase points per dollar in the all other category for all my business spend. And I personally like to keep my personal and my business spend separate, which is why I have both these catch-all cards, and they're both gonna go into the B tier together. Next, in July of 2022, you guessed it, but we got another Chase credit card, and that is gonna be the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless, which is a $95 per year hotel card. Now, I wasn't really planning on getting this one, but they were running a limited time offer of 5 free night awards back when I got it. So because I was just trying to kind of bank a ton of points and free nights for travel in the future, I decided to go ahead and apply, and I got approved. Those 5 free nights were great to have because they were worth up to 50,000 points each, and I could also top those up to 65,000 points if I needed to by just using some other Marriott points. However, after that, if I'm being honest here, I'm kind of underwhelmed by this card, and it's just kind of been another one of those that stays in my sock drawer. It's good to have if I know I'm going to be staying at a Marriott property, but I've mostly been staying at Hyatts these days because of my globalist status with them. But the one thing that does help me to justify keeping the Bonvoy Boundless is the 35K free night award I also get every year with this card. I just used that free night perfectly a few weeks ago to save $250 at a Westin in Cape Town, which was great. So because I still find ways to get value from that annual free night award, this one is going to go into the C tier. And no, I'm probably not going to be upgrading this to the Ritz-Carlton card like a lot of other people do, but that's an explanation for another video. Now, the card that I got next was finally my last Chase credit card for a while because it pushed me up to 524 at that time, and that was the World of Hyatt card, which I opened in September of 2022. This card was purely open because I was buying an engagement ring to propose to my girlfriend at the time, now my wife Jackie, so I got 30,000 points after the first 3K of spend in 3 months, plus another 2x points per dollar on up to 15K of spend in the first 6 months. Then after that, this card kind of just became another sock drawer card for me. It's a good keeper card though, because even though it has a $95 annual fee, just like the Bonvoy Boundless, there is going to be a free night award that I get every single year, which is valid on this card for a category 1 to 4 Hyatt property. Those types of properties aren't always super great or super nice, but again, I do always find a way to get good value here, like a few weeks ago when I used a free night award at a Hyatt in the Fort Worth Stockyards area instead of paying $305. So yeah, this card doesn't get used a ton, but it is good for that free night award benefit, so it's going to go into the C tier for me as well. After that, we've got the Amex Blue Business Plus card that I opened also in September of 2022. This one's going to be good as a catch-all card that I use for miscellaneous business spend because it gets 2x points per dollar on everything, but the sign-up bonus on this card honestly is pretty bad. It only gave me 15,000 points after 3K of spend in 3 months, which is kind of nothing compared to the Chase Ink cards I have. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into the B tier because it is a solid points earning catch-all card for me, but I wish it had a more competitive welcome offer. Next, we've got the Citi Custom Cash that I got in October of 2022. And this one was a card that I mostly just wanted because it was a good sort of filler credit card for my setup with the way that it earns 5x points per dollar on your top spend category each billing cycle. I also got a bonus of 20,000 points after $1,500 of spending in 6 months. And even though the main thing that I use this card for is gas spending right now, it's still a great credit card to have for a number of other things if I ever want to use it only for groceries or for dining or for something like that to get 5x back in one of those categories. For me, I really love the flexibility that it has here, and it's tough to beat 5x back for no annual fee. So this one's gonna go up into the A tier because it's another credit card that's just constantly been in my wallet ever since I got it. I also got the American Express Amazon Business Prime card back in October of 2022, and I got a nice Amazon gift card of probably around 125 bucks just for signing up. But I'll be honest, I didn't really need this card, and I think I kind of got it basically just to save $125 on some business expenses that I had to do through Amazon. This card earns 5% back on Amazon purchases, which is also really good. But I do tend to go for new sign-up bonuses on a lot of other business credit cards most of the time. And then outside of that, I'm typically putting most of my Amazon business spend on a catch-all credit card, kind of like the Ink Unlimited or the Blue Business Plus to earn points. So yeah, this Amex Amazon credit card probably does not get used as much as it should, which is why it's gonna go down into the C tier for me. But again, it is a great credit card for a simple 5% cash back on Amazon. It's really just a personal preference that I like to earn points right now on other credit cards instead. All right, next up, we have one of my favorite credit cards with the Bilt MasterCard, which I got back in January of 2023. So this one has no annual fee, and I've talked about it a lot here on this channel in the past because it allows me to earn points on all my rent spending. I've earned a ton of points on that over the past 2+ years because I get 1x point per dollar on rent for up to 100,000 points per calendar year. And then I typically use this on a few other of my subscription purchases as well because the Bilt MasterCard does require 5 transactions per statement period in order to keep the points you earn. This card's got a ton of other features and benefits packed into it as well. Plus, Bilt points are the most valuable in my opinion thanks to their amazing transfer partners like Hyatt and Alaska Airlines. So for a no annual fee credit card, the value that I get here easily makes this S tier for me personally, and it goes up to the top of my personal rankings. Next, in May of 2023, I got the Amex Business Gold card, and honestly, the main reason for that was because I just wanted the sign-up bonus here of 100,000 points that I found at that time. Again, I had some larger business expenses that I wanted to get a good return on with credit card points, and back then this card had a cheaper $295 annual fee and a really cool feature for redeeming your Amex points for certain flights in the Amex portal to get 25% of those points rebated back to you. However, only a few months after I got this card, American Express removed that feature, and they also increased the annual fee by 80 bucks. So after a year, I asked for a retention offer, got nothing, and then I just canceled this card. And so because I don't have this card anymore, that means for me personally, I have to put it down into the D tier. However, in the future, with some business spend that I might have, this definitely could be an option that I'll consider adding back eventually because you're able to earn 4x back for online advertising that you have here. So again, these rankings for this video are going to be subjective subjective based on my needs so far, but that can change over time, and this is a great card for other small businesses with a lot of advertising spend. All right, next we've got the Capital One Venture X, which is actually going to be an authorized user card that I have under my wife's account that we opened in August of 2023. And the only reason I don't have this credit card myself is because Capital One, like I've talked about in previous videos, has not wanted to approve me yet just due to having too many accounts on my personal credit report. That's really the big downside that I have for this card though, because other than that, my wife and I are pretty easily able to offset the $395 annual fee thanks to the $300 travel credit and the 10,000 mile anniversary bonus we get every year on this. Plus, we also got a really solid welcome bonus of 75,000 points, and then this card just ends up being a really good catch-all card that we use a lot to earn 2x back on everything. There's a ton of other great stuff here on the Venture X as well, so this is going to be another one that brings a lot of value to our two-player credit card strategy, and that's why it's going to go up into the S tier as well. Moving along to the next credit card here, we're going to have the Citi Advantage Business Select card that I also got back in August of 2023. And again, sort of the same story here for a business credit card where I just had some extra business spend that I had to do and I wanted to earn some extra credit card points. So this card got me 65,000 American Airlines miles. I don't really use this card for that much else though, to be honest, and I don't really check any of my bags on a lot of domestic American Airlines flights, so I'm not getting a ton of value from the free check bag benefit. So when this one comes up for renewal again, it's probably gonna get canceled if I'm being honest, because it does have a $99 annual fee. So it's gonna go down into the D tier for me just because I haven't gotten that much value from it after the sign up bonus. Next, in November 2023, I was back under the Chase 524 rule, so I was able to take advantage of my third Chase Inc. sign up bonus on the Inc. Preferred here with a limited time 100,000 point offer. I do still use this credit card occasionally for the 3x back on business travel spend, which is pretty good. And then similar to the Amex Business Gold card, in the future, this card could be very valuable for me for getting 3x points on advertising spend. But for right now, because of the sign up bonus and the 3x back on travel, this one is gonna go into the B tier. Moving on to the next card here that I got in March of 2024, which was the Amex Business Platinum. And with this card, again, it was mostly all about the big sign-up bonus. I got an offer of 190,000 Amex points after spending 15K in the first 3 months. Normally, I'm not somebody who's spending that much money in such a short period of time, but back in March of 2024, I was moving into this whole new apartment here with my new YouTube studio, and that's when I kind of decided that I wanted to make a big investment by upgrading everything. I got some new lights, new microphone, new camera, better lens, this desk right here, and all this other stuff in the background. So that really helped me to easily hit that minimum spend requirement to get that massive bonus. I also do like to use some of the other credits and benefits that come with this card, like the 35% points rebate feature, even though there is a $695 annual fee. So to me right now, this one's gonna go into the B tier just because that was a massive sign up bonus. And then moving forward, that ranking could kind of change just depending on how much I'm using this card and the cost that I'm paying. After that, we've got the Chase Sapphire Reserve that I opened in April of 2024. And with this card here, I was able to time it perfectly because I got a limited time 75,000 point welcome offer that was going on at the time. This was my replacement after having the Sapphire Preferred for 4 years prior to getting this card. So because I was past the Chase 48-month rule for getting welcome bonuses on Sapphire cards, that's why I decided to go and downgrade the Preferred to an OG Freedom card and then eventually go and open up this new Reserve card. I also chose the CSR as my new Sapphire card with the bonus because I knew that it was going to give me access to Chase Sapphire lounges with the ability to also bring up to 2 free guests. And like I said, there's a massive new Chase Sapphire lounge that just opened here in Philadelphia that I love. So to me, this card is going to be well worth it, and it's going to go into the A tier above the Sapphire Preferred. Now in May of 2024, I also got the Citi Strata Premier with a 75,000 point welcome offer after 4K of spend in 3 months. And the main reason for getting that card at that time is because I got married in June of 2024. So Jackie and I had a few more wedding expenses to pay, and we wanted to earn a nice sign-up bonus alongside that. This card was perfect for those wedding expenses, and then it's also really been a solid option to have to earn 3x back on a ton of categories like flights, hotels, restaurants, supermarkets, gas stations, and EV charging as well. However, because my Sapphire Reserve covers us really well with earning 3x on travel, and then my Amex Gold earns 4x on dining and groceries, and my Custom Cash earns 5x on gas, we just don't typically use the Strata Premier that much, even though it is an excellent option and one of the best credit cards out there on the market right now, in my opinion. So if I'm just being fair in my rankings for this video, this one is going to go into the C tier for me personally, just because of the way that I've used it over the past year. But again, really great credit card, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Citi is going to do with their other credit cards throughout the rest of this year and into the future. After that, I got the Discover It card in September of 2024. And this is a card that I kind of skipped over for some reason when I was early on in my credit card journey, so I kind of just wanted to go back and get it. I knew that I wasn't going to be opening many new credit cards over the course of this year in 2025 because I'm also waiting to buy a house very soon. So because of that, I figured that getting this Discover It card late last year for the cashback match program they offer that was going to be a really good thing to have throughout this first year with it. This card earns 5% back in rotating quarterly categories, just like the Chase Freedom Flex and the OG Freedom cards I have, but the categories are usually a little bit different with Discover and Chase each quarter, so they don't really overlap. So in Q1, I was using this Discover It card on restaurants to earn 5% back on that, and then in Q2, I'm going to be using this at grocery stores and at wholesale clubs. The cashback matching offer makes the 5% categories here effectively 10% back once Discover does their match at the end of the first year for me. And then in the future, this is also going to be a solid option to have as well. So for me, this one doesn't really have much downside, and it's going to go into the A tier. After that, I also went ahead and picked up the Chase World of Hyatt Business credit card in November of 2024. And with this one here, I got a nice 60,000 point sign-up bonus in the form of Hyatt points, which is super valuable and easily worth at least $1,200 to me. And the main reason I got this card was just for the way it helps me to earn globalist status. That's because for every $10,000 that I spend here on this credit card from a business, I'm going to get 5 tier qualifying nights. So this card helped to push me over the 60 nights that I needed by the end of 2024 to get globalist status for this year in 2025. Then I'm probably also going to use it to pay some business taxes in the near future here to get closer again to globalist for 2026 as well. However, this card does have a $199 annual fee, and I don't really use it that much for anything else right now. So for me, it's going to go into the C tier, but that's just because it's got a pretty specific use case at the moment in my credit card setup. Now, all of my effort into getting 20 plus credit cards really goes towards allowing me and my wife to just travel the world for free, or sometimes almost free, using our credit card points. So if you want to learn more about how exactly to do that by winning the credit card game like we do, then make sure to go ahead and check out this video over here on the screen next. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.